So we will be reading from Simanaha Siksa, Splendid Instructions to the Mind by Raghunath Das Goswami. Currently we are on verse number 5, commentary by Bhakti Vigyan Goswami. I'm going to read a couple of lines to bring up to the speed and then we will continue. So in the purport to Bhagavad Gita verse 3.6, Srila Prabhupada says that it is better to be an honest householder than a cheating meditator. People are trying to meditate to externally withdraw from the sense object. But if the material desire within remains, they turn into charlatans and nothing good comes out of it. And this is what we are learning. We need to be truthful and honest. Another example from Srimad Bhagavatam is Shubhari Muni. He was a yogi who submerged in himself under the Yamuna river so he would not see the object of the senses. For many, many years underwater, he held his breath, performing severe austerities. At one point, he saw some face meeting, which completely disturbed his mind. And he thought, quote, "What I'm doing here underwater," unquote. He rushed to the nearby palace in Mathura and said to King Mandata, quote, "I want to marry your daughter," unquote. The king had 50 daughters and he said, quote, "My daughters are princesses, so they must choose their husband by themselves. Go, if they choose you, I'll give you my blessings," unquote. So he used some of the power from his penance to turn into a handsome and attractive young man, and all the 50 daughters wanted to marry him. In that way, he became a servant of lust. We have eagerly taken up the spiritual path, but the highwaymen attacked us in the dark and began strangling us. Gale badhua khanyaham. If that has happened to you, you have to cry out, quote, "They are killing me, how? Shreya me, how? Khanyaham. They are strangling me. Gale badhua." Raghunath Das Goswami says, Vartma Gane. Vartma means path. Vartmapa means policeman. There are path-pati, robbers, and there are Vartmapa, the police. Vartmapa Gane, and we must call them. But it is a special police. The police, like the gang, has its leader, whose name is Bakabid, the one who ripped Bakasur apart, that is Krishna. Kuru Tvam Bhukta Karan. Kuru means O mind. Bhukta Karan means shout loudly. Help, help. Avati Sayatha Tvam Mana Itaha. We will be rescued by Krishna himself when we call for the devotee police offices. Vaishnava police can save us. Raghunath Das Goswami says that when we are overcome by these enemies, we must shout for help, crying, "They are killing me. They are dragging me to hell. I'm in trouble." And we must call the Vaishnavas who will save us. He says here that what can actually save us is the societies of Vaishnavas. There is a one devotee friend of mine, Maharaj is saying, who used to take very addictive drugs over many, many years. As we are reading from Prabhupada Lilamrita, all of them were hippies taking marijuana, LSD. He became a devotee, and for some time he stood firm, but then gave in again and also started to deal in drugs because addicts like to get others addicted as well. He was sent to prison for 3 years and so then released. This devotee came to one of our festivals. When I saw him, I went up to him and started asking how he was doing. He said, quote, "As long as I'm here with the devotees, I do not want anything. I feel no desire and it's nice. But I know as soon as I leave here, I will get addicted again," unquote. This is what happens if we meditate on the sense objects. At one point, our desire will grow so strong that we can do nothing but cast prudence to the wind. Therefore, Raghunath Das Goswami says that conquering the enemies headed by lust is not going to work by our own efforts. We have to call to those who can save us from hypocrisy, to those who show the Bakabhi, the one who can reap the hypocrisy within us into. We must remain in association of the devotees. When we are with the devotees, all problems are solved. Lust goes away, material desire go away, and the only desire that remain inside is to serve Krishna and his devotees. To be constantly situated at the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas is the only safe place in this world where we can feel fully protected against all enemies. If there are no Vaishnavas near us physically, then another type of sadhu sangha is reading books and listening to the lectures. Hear their words, read what they have written, and think about the verses they have left to us. Doing this will give us the strength to resist the most frightening and powerful enemies that we have inside. Therefore, thanks to the modern advance, we can be with the Vaishnavas 24 hours a day. So we will stop here. And we are reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, volume number 3. And we are beginning on chapter number 3, New Jagannath Puri. Srila Prabhupada put on a sweater over his turtleneck jersey, wrapped his chadar around his shoulder, and left his apartment accompanied by a few disciples. The weather was beautiful, and the blue, cloudless sky reminded him of India. As hour before, he had sent devotees ahead to start a kirtan, and now one of the girls had come running back to him, excitedly knocking on his door and announcing, quote, "Swamiji, there are so many people," unquote. The clay mridanga he had ordered many months ago from Calcutta had recently arrived. Today would be one of the first times he would play a genuine clay mridanga in America. The boys and girls would like it. He had arranged for the drums to be wrapped in cloth and had cautioned the boys to be careful because the clay drums broke very easily. The walk to the park was short, and as usual, Prabhupada walked faster than his young followers. They walked down Frederick Street to Stenian, where they turned the corner at the donut shop, frequented by the Hells Angels and still sometimes visited by certain devotees. On Stenian, they hurried past the parking lot of Kaiser Stadium, the stadium itself, living beyond. At the Wallen Street intersection, Prabhupada continued his rapid stride without stopping or even bothering to look at the light. One of the boys caught him quote, "Wait, Swamiji, the light," unquote. But Prabhupada darted across the street. As they continued down Tenyon toward Hyde Street, the park appeared on the right. They entered, walking past a duck pond with a fountain and a willow tree, its center island. They walked past tall redwoods and eucalyptus trees, which lent fragrance to the surrounding area. In India, when we were traveling in South India, I saw that eucalyptus trees farm, so many acres. And on the side of the road also, you see so many. Haribo. There were also maple, oak, and ash trees and flowering shrubs like azaleas. Prabhupada said it must be springtime because azalea only bloom only once a year in springtime. Prabhupada said that the park resembled park in Bombay and that the city was like holy place because it was named after Saint Francis. They entered a 50-foot long tunnel with artificial stalactites hanging from the ceiling and came out onto a path heavily shaded by trees on either side. Just ahead was the meadow, covered with tiny daisies and clover, and encircled by redwood and eucalyptus trees. Prabhupada could hear the chanting, kartals, and the booming of the timpani. As he entered the meadow, he saw a sloping hill dotted with hundreds of young people, sitting, lying, lounging, smoking, throwing frisbees, or walking around. And in the meadow below, the hill was his kirtan. The meadow was a popular place. People walked through it on the way to the zoo or the tennis courts. But today, many passerbys had stopped and were listening in a group about 200 feet from the kirtan. Closer in, about 50 feet from the kirtan, was another group listening more intently. And then there was the kirtan party itself, Prabhupada's disciple and dozens of young hippies sitting tightly together and chanting. And others were standing nearby, clapping and swaying to the rhythm of the drum and kartals. Flags decorated the kirtan area, 3 feet by 4 feet. They had been made by the devotees, and each bore the symbol of a different religion. A bright red flag with a yellow star and the crescent moon of Islam flew from a 10-foot bamboo pole stuck into the earth. Beside it waved a pale blue flag with a dark blue star of David in the center. And beside that, a yellow flag bore the Sanskrit Omkar. Prabhupada's disciple, with their long hair and casual clothes, were indistinguishable from the other young dancers and singers, except for the strands of large red chanting beads around their necks. Some of the devotees dance with arms upraised against the background of uninterrupted blue sky. Others play instruments. The kartals and timpani were there. Hayagriva has brought his cornet, and there were other instruments bought by devotees and hippies. Little children were taking part. Even a stray dog runs in innermost circle of the kirtan party. On Sundays, the meadow beneath Hippie Hill was always an open show, and today the kirtan was the future attraction. Prabhupada joined the kirtan, walking up suddenly to the surprise and delight of the devotees. He sat down and began playing the mridanga and leading the singing in a loud voice. So Mukunda is explaining this scene in his own word as follows. Although we had heard Swamiji play different drums before, and some of us had played along with him, when he played the clay mridanga from India, it was a completely different feeling. The feeling it created was akin to seeing an old friend after many, many years. It was so right and so natural. It was the very thing our kirtan had been missing, and it increased our feeling of ecstasis many times over. Obviously, Swamiji was in greater ecstasy than ever. He could sense by the way he held the drum, by the ease with which he brought out its intricate rhythms to control the kirtan, that this drum was like a long-lost friend to him. Swamiji playing the drum was the talk of the community. Now we knew what kirtan really was, how it was supposed to sound, what it was really like. So Prabhupada was the center of attraction. Even his age and dress made him prominent. Whereas the others in the park were mostly young people dressed in denims or various hippie costumes. Prabhupada was 70 and distinctly dressed in saffron robes. And the way the devotees had all cheered and bowed before him and were now looking at him so lovingly caused onlookers to regard him with curiosity and respect. As soon as he had sat down, some young children had gathered in close to him. He had smiled at them, deftly playing the mridanga, enthralling and entertaining them with his playing. Govinda Dasi is explaining this scene in her words as follows. With Swamiji's arrival, there was a mastery and authority about the whole kirtan that was absent before. We were no longer kids in San Francisco chanting Hare Krishna. Now we had historical depth and meaning. Now the kirtan had credentials. His presence established the ancient historical quality of the chanting. When Swamiji came, the whole disciplic succession came. What a nice vision, huh? After an hour of chanting, Prabhupada stopped the kirtan and addressed the crowd. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is the sound vibration, and it is to be understood that the sound vibration is transcendental. And because it is transcendental vibration, therefore it appeals to everyone, even without understanding the language of the sound. This is the beauty. Even children respond to it. So after speaking 5 minutes, Prabhupada began the kirtan again. One woman with long, uncombed red hair began dancing back and forth and chanting, her baby in her arms. A man and woman sitting side by side played together on the heads of a pair of bongos. Subal in tight corduroy pants and a flowing white shirt danced in a semblance of steps Swamiji had shown him. Although Subal looked somewhat like an American Indian dancer, a little girl, no more than 4-year-old, sat cross-legged, playing kartal and chanting seriously. A show-looking fellow wearing a vest and round sunglasses played castaners against his palm. Rabindra Swarup sat rocking back and forth as he played the drone on the harmonium. Beside him, Hariba chanted, his head and upper body lunging forward and back, his long hair and beard jutting out widely, while nearby a girl stood with her right arm around one boy and her left arm around another. All three of them swaying back and forth, singing with peaceful, blissful smiles, enjoying the chanting and the sunshine. One girl sat silently meditating, while beside her a girl danced proactively, and a 5-year-old beside the dancing girl played with 2 balloons. Okay. Prabhupada set his mridanga aside and stood, playing kartal and swaying among the dancers, his feet moving in a stately measure. A big black man danced nearby, facing his white girlfriend, both of them moving as if they were at the Avalon. The girl shook her body and head in wild abandon, and her long straight hair completely covered her face. Bright, blonde Nandarani stood on Prabhupada's right, playing kartals. Sometimes Prabhupada stopped singing and simply observed the scene, his mouth closed in a stern yet submissively tolerant expression. Some of the young people joined hands, forming a circle, and began to dance around and around in front of Swamiji. Then they encircled him, and as he looked on, still swaying and now clapping solemnly, they danced around him, hand in hand, jumping and wriggling and chanting Hare Krishna. The soft pink hue of his khadi robes contrasting with the white dress of the hippies. Swamiji looked unusual and wonderful, watching and solemnly sanctioning the kirtan performance. The dancing was free, form, and sensuous, but that was the way these young people expressed their feelings. Through their bodies, they bounced and bounded into the air. Sometimes the circle of dancers would break and become a single line, weaving in and out among the people sitting on the grass, in and out among the silk flags. A muscular boy held the hand of a girl wearing long dark braids and a black headband in American Indian style. At the end of the line, a boy held a girl's hand with his left hand, while with his right he held a wooden recorder to his mouth and tooted as he weaved in and out of the crowd. Prabhupada became tired and sat beside the brass bottom timpani. Singing and playing kartals, he sat grave and straight like an ancient sage. Nearby, a blonde woman sat in a yogic posture, bending her body forward until her forehead touched the ground again and again in supplication or exhibition. Another girl stretched out her hands imploringly in a mixed expression of inner feelings, physical and spiritual, while her golden earring jangled. A Mexican in a checkered shirt beat a tom-tom. A white sheepdog wandered from person to person. Swamiji looked kind and amused. The hippies found him beautiful. He remained gentlemanly, aloof among the twisting, shaking, rocking, dancing young people. Amid their most sensual movements, he appeared not at all like them, for he moved in a stately, elderly way. Okay. As he surveyed the activities in the meadow, he seemed deeply pleased to see the ring of dancers singing all around him, chanting Hare Krishna. Although the enthusiasm of these hippies was often wild and sensual, the gathering assumed a wholesome sweetness due to chanting of Hare Krishna. For Swamiji, the main thing was that the chanting was going on and on. Dressed in his saffron cloth that seemed to change color subtly in the fading afternoon sunlight, he watched in a kindly, fatherly way, not imposing any restraint, but simply inviting everyone to chant Hare Krishna. 25-year-old Linda Katz was walking in the park when she heard the sound of the kirtan. In the crowd of hundreds of people gathered around the scene, Linda found it easy to go close without becoming conspicuous. She felt comfortable watching and even thought of joining the fun. Then she noticed the Swami leading the singing. She was stolid, even a little frightened, having never before seen anyone so grave. He was striking. And the dancer appeared beautiful to her. A girl with arm upraised and eyes closed seems to be swinging like a tree in the wind. One of the men was tall and attractive, with golden curly hair. And Linda saw a boy she knew from college in New York. a crazy boy who always wore a shocking big wool cap. Linda had arrived in San Francisco from New York only a few days ago. She had no plans except to study under a certain dance teacher and maybe get into some of the exciting things she had heard were going on in Heights, Asbury. As a graduate student in ancient Greek literature at Columbia University, Linda had become attracted to Socrates, who had lived and died for truth. But she hadn't found any of her professors to be at all like Socrates. She has envisioned herself living a life of truth by pursuing scholarship, but it had become dry. The ancient civilization of Greece was a dead idea, not a living truth. It didn't touch the heart. She had been aching for a new, exciting experience, and she was ready to throw herself into San Francisco's hippie society. She had come here alone, giving up her fashionable clothes and donning bell bottoms and old shirts. But because she wanted to be serious, she felt awkward trying to fit in with the hippies. She felt that to belong, she was supposed to wipe the serious look off her face and just smile mindlessly. So even in the society of San Francisco's hippies, she remained unsatisfied and lost. So I think we should stop here. We should be punctual in our service. Before the Vaishnava list, we would like to offer our humble obeisances at the desk of this wonderful devotees who is taking so much austerity to wake up early in the morning. It's not easy. Maintaining the household life, working 8 hours, maybe 14 hours, as the corporate world is using them as a slave by